However, there's more to living than just breathing. Amen? Amen. more to living than just going to work every week. Amen?
Amen.
There's more to living than going to a ball game. Amen?
Amen.
There's a lot more to living and so many other things we can name today. And if you'll allow me to, over the next 2 weeks, I'm just going to speak very practically to you. Amen? Amen. And I hope that you'll receive it. I hope that you'll think about it, especially leading in to the season of Thanksgiving, which is rapidly coming upon us. I don't want us to walk into this time so enamored. And let me be honest with you this morning. This message changed for me Monday morning, and I'm going to tell you what happened. Last week was a very, very, very busy week for me. One of those weeks where it's hard sometimes to even stop and breathe. And I remember running here and running there and doing this and doing that and preparing for a funeral and going and preaching that funeral and leaving that funeral and going all the way over to wherever it was I went, I can't even remember, to a ball game and rushing the whole way there and worried that I wasn't going to get there in time. People get in front of you, and the speed limit, public service announcement people, if it says 55, it don't mean drive 35. Amen?
Amen.
And that person in front of you decides they're just going to drive 35, and you get agitated and you get ill, and all of a sudden God says to your heart, what are you doing? What are you doing? Look at all the beauty that surrounds you. Think about what you've got in this life. Think about all of the blessings that exist today. And this thought popped into my mind, son, you're not even taking time to live. You're so caught up in all of the junk that exists in this life, you're missing all of the blessings that God has placed before you. And can I be real with you this morning, church? Whether you want to admit it or not, we live in a culture that is so inebriated by doing too much in one day. We cram everything into our schedules, and we barely have time to breathe. We don't do what the old saying does, take time to stop and smell roses. And I want you to understand the danger that exists. And this isn't even a part of the message. This is just something that's coming as I'm speaking to you, because it's true. But one of the dangers in living a life that is so busy and is so overwhelmed with other things, and by the way, we make our lives that way. Amen? Amen. We make our lives that way. The danger in that is that we often get so overwhelmed with things that we leave no room, we leave no time for God to be able to speak to us. And in all of the busyness and all of the chaos and all of the clutter, God is steadily speaking. He's steadily beckoning something to us. He's steadily reaching out towards us. And we miss it because we're so captivated by things that, and please don't take this the wrong way, I'm not degrading your life or your loves or anything, but we get so overwhelmed with things that at the end of the day, church, don't even really matter. I want us to think about that today, especially in the coming weeks as we lead up to Thanksgiving, and the world in which we live today is so busy. And I want to say this to you, and I don't want to offend anyone, but media. The media throws so much junk before us. They keep our minds so clouded and so cluttered. They cause us to live in fear. They cause us to take things for granted. And we are missing a blessing because we are not truly taking the time to live our lives. You have a copy of God's Word. I'm going to read out of the book of James chapter 4 this morning. And I want to read 3 verses. I want to look at what it says in verse 14. And that will be the key verse this morning. But James chapter 4, we're going to start in verse 13. And we're going to read through verse 16 today. And if, just out of respect, I know we don't do this every Sunday, but God just is overwhelming me with this morning. Please stand out of respect for God and His holy word as we read this morning. But it says in verse 13, "Come now, you who say today or tomorrow we will travel to such and such a city, and spend a year there and do business and make a profit. Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring." You hear that? That's your key verse. "Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring, what your life will be. For you are like a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you should say, if the Lord wills, we will live and do this or that. But as it is, you boast in your arrogance. All such boasting is evil." Verse 17, "So it is sin to know the good, and yet not the bad. Every head bowed for just a moment. Father, help us this morning as we are gathered at your house. God, may we receive a fresh word from you. God, may it not be a man speaking that is heard, but God, may it be the words that you have impressed upon my heart, that you anoint, that you mingle into the hearts of these people gathered here today. And Lord, you give them the meaning that they need. You give them the comprehension that is necessary. Lord, give them the blessing, give them the touch. For Lord, only you and in your power is any of this possible. God, may we be honest, may we be truthful, may we remove anything, any emotion, any thought that may keep us from hearing you today, and may we not worry about the time. In Jesus' name we humbly ask. Amen. You may be seated this morning. I want to look at a few things, and I'm not going to keep you over the next 2 weeks for the sake of keeping you. If God's going to give it to me, I'm going to give it to you. But when He starts letting the tap drip less, so to speak, I'm going to cut it off. But the very first thing that I want us to think about in that question, are we truly taking the time to live? In our culture, in our time, in our lives, in our homes, if our children were asked, would our children say that we as a family unit were we truly taking the time to live? Here's an indicator. Here's something I want you to do. Number one, we need to take time to listen. And if I've got any note takers in here this morning, please write this down. We need to first learn to take time to listen. Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, in chapter 55, verse 3, tells us this. It says, incline your ear. That means to lean in. That means to hear truly. Now, let me stop just a minute before I read the rest of that verse. Do you guys understand this morning there's a difference between hearing and listening? Do we understand that? And I'm going to confess something at the risk of being put in the doghouse when I get home this evening. But I hear my wife a lot. But I don't always listen. Especially when a show's on that I want to hear. She may say something to me and I hear the words and I'll give her an uh-huh. But I don't really know what she just said. For all I know, she could have said, Brett, I'm going to take $20 out of your wallet. And I said, uh-huh. But I want to ask you a question today. How often do we truly listen? How often do we truly let it go in, what's being said, and what we're hearing? And how often do we just let it fray past as it comes out of the mouth of another? But it says, and come unto me. So he says, incline your ear, lean in, and come unto me. Hear, and your soul shall live. So you see, he's saying you need to do more than just hear it. You need to listen. You need to absorb it. You need to let it in. We need to not just learn to listen this morning, church, but we need to first, and we're going to talk about listening to God, but first I want to put this in there. We need to learn to listen to others. And Lauren, I'm so sorry wherever you are, there you are, that I don't always hear you. And to you who are in this church, when you caught me in a busy moment, when I'm rushing to do something else, and you say something to me, and I don't always listen, I apologize. Because we need to truly get into a place, get into a point in our lives where we learn to listen to others. Because everyone, not just some folks, but everyone needs a listening ear at times. Everyone needs to be able to speak. Everyone needs to be able to share what's going on in their lives with someone who is willing to not just hear, but listen to what's being said. And let me tell you this about listening. When you truly listen to someone, you may not still remember what that conversation was in an hour or a day or a week. But in that moment, when you are truly listening to that other person, God will be able to speak to your heart and speak to your mind and help you give them those words of encouragement that they may need during that time. How often, how good are we at listening this morning to others? Because I want us to understand this today. Listening encourages. Listening lifts up. Listening solves problems. Listening brings comfort. Listening brings healing to those who are broken and those who are hurt. And church, I don't know how you feel, but as I look around our community, as I look around the world in which we live today, I see a bunch of brokenness and a bunch of hurt. I see that all around. And one of the qualities, I think, of being a child of God, one of the qualities, if we're truly going to live, is learning to listen to others. And let me say this for just a moment. And I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. Yeah, if I'm guilty of it, I want to see how many others are guilty of it. How many of us have ever heard somebody talking, and you're in that moment, you're in that situation, and you're already thinking about what you're going to say? How many of us have done that? Okay, let me ask you a question. And before they've even finished, you've got it dialed in. And time that pause, time that break comes up. There you are. You jute in. You make your case. You state your point. Because whatever your reasoning was. How many of us in here are guilty of that? I'm guilty of it at times. But here's the thing. Can I tell you this morning, and you take it to heart in a conductive and conducive way? When we do that, number one, we're not listening. We're not hearing. And when we do that, so many of our disagreements, so many of our problems don't come from just lying or liars. They come from not being willing to listen to the whole of the story or of the facts. I want us to understand that today. Listening can cause so many problems. But the second thing in that header, and if you're there this morning, say amen. If you're alive, you love the Lord. The second thing is we've got to learn to listen to God. Because I want us to understand the importance of this morning. Understand the need that exists there. When we listen to God, when we receive His counsel, when we meditate upon His Word, when we understand what we are supposed to do, and when we listen to those things, when we adhere to those commands, God comes in and He reacts, and we benefit from that because we receive His care, we receive His direction, and we receive His blessing. I want you to listen to just a part of Psalm 91. It says, because he has his heart set on me, okay, because this person has his heart set on God, because he has his heart set on me, I will deliver him, and I will protect him, because he knows my name. Everybody close your eyes for just a moment. Everybody close your eyes. Don't look around. If you don't care, you're not into the sermon, here's your opportunity to close your eyes and go to sleep. Close your eyes just a moment, and I'm going to let it go silent. How many times, everybody's eyes still closed, do we take the time to think about God's Word, bow our head, close our eyes, and escape from this rat race that we call life, and meditate on what God has told us through His Word? Everybody open your eyes back up and look at me for just a second. What you just did, momentarily there, was a form of meditation, of reflection. It gave you an opportunity to shut out all of the junk. It gave you an opportunity to recall what God's Word has said to you this day, or this moment, or this week, and to ponder that. And I want you to understand, that's how we listen to God. Through His Word, through meditating, through doing what is necessary. And when that comes in here, and we listen to God, it goes from there to here. And when it gets to your heart, church, it impacts your life in such a way that you will never be able to truly find the words to explain to anyone that you come in contact with. Amen. That's a good thing. It's good stuff, man. It does something to you. It causes you to think differently. It causes you to react differently. It causes great things within your life and in your heart. So not only listening to others, but listening to God is of the utmost importance. Number two, if you're taking notes this morning, number two, we need to put ourselves in a situation where we need to take time to learn. And I know I'm looking at many of you and you're like, man, I've been out of school for years. I don't need to go back and learn anything. I'm navigating life just fine. But I want to say something to you before I even get to my sub-points here this morning. And I don't want you to take this the wrong way, because it is what it is. Miss Cindy just said that about the little choir he's had. Just, it is what it is. And it'll be what it'll be. Amen? But I want you to realize this. When we get to a point in life where we stop learning, guess what we do? We stop growing. And when we get to a point in life where we've stopped learning and we've stopped growing, then we're going to stop being effective. And when we get to a point where we've stopped learning and we've stopped growing and we're no longer effective, we become shallow. And when we become shallow, we become stuck in a rut that nobody wants to be stuck in. And when we become stuck in that rut, what happens is we become stuck in the past. And when we become stuck in the past, we're of no value in the present, nor in building a greater future for God in the society in which we live in. And that's true stuff. May not be stuff that we want to hear, but it's true stuff. And you see, here's the thing. God even does new things. And you're like, preacher, you're being blasphemous. No, I'm not. Let me give you an example for just a moment, because I believe Scripture should back itself up. If you flip over to the book of Isaiah for just a moment, or either just write this down, and you look at chapter 43, and you look at verses 18 and 19, what the Lord says, speaking in context of the redemption of the people of Israel, here's what God says. He says, do not remember the past events. Pay no attention to the things of old. Then he goes on to say, look, I am about to do something new. Even now it is coming. Do you not see it? Indeed, I will make a way in the wilderness, rivers in the desert. Church, hear me this morning and understand this. We must learn from God. And God just gave us a very important lesson. All through His Word, He gives us a very important lesson. We need to learn from God by reading, obviously, but by then following the mandates and the paths that God has set before us. What if today we still sat in Long Branch Baptist Church dependent upon a priest to go into a temple and make a sacrifice for our sins so that we may never have to see hell? What if we were still in that situation today? Church, let me just be real with you. I wouldn't want my faith resting in the hands of some other man. Amen? I want my faith resting in Jesus Christ, my Lord and my Savior. So God did a new thing. God sent His Son so that there would no longer have to be this sacrifice, so that man could be saved from his self, from his sin, from his ways, through the precious blood of the unblemished Lamb, the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Amen. And here's the thing. Today, God still does new things. God still interacts in new ways. God still reaches out to new people. It's not God that has a problem with new. It's the people that have a problem with new. And we've got to learn from God. We've got to move in such a way that God is relevant to the people today. The Word can never change, but God does do new things. Second, not only do we need to learn from God, but we need to learn from people. We need to learn from people. I know this is dangerous. Amen? I know this can be dangerous. Amen? But listen to me. By watching some folks, let's be real. You can learn what not to do. Amen? It's real. It's true. It's true. But here's the thing. Here's the catch to that. By going and watching and talking to the Christian men and women, to the saints who have lived life, who have fought the good fight, who have run the race well, you can learn a lot by the ground that they have already traveled. Amen? They are a valuable resource. And I want to say this to you this morning, and I don't know how to package it. God has just put this on my heart. So I'm going to say it this way. From my experience, or from the experienced saints of God in this room this morning. For those of you who have been around for years and years and years and years, do not ever let anyone tell you that you are not valuable. Do not ever let anyone make you feel like your contributions are not important. Do not ever let anybody shove you to the back of the room like what you think doesn't matter. Because the fact of the matter is, if you hadn't let God lead you, we wouldn't be where we are today. Amen. And I want you to remember this, young people. and I'm just going to put it on their level. Please don't be offended by this. One day, you're going to be older. One day, you're not going to be the hot turkey that you think you are today. One day, you're going to be the one they're pushing to the back of the room. Learn respect for others and learn from others today while you still may. The third thing, and this may seem totally irrelevant, but it is not. Because if we're going to truly take the time to live, we've got to do this. And I believe God wants us to do this. We have got to take the time to learn to laugh. It's urgent. It's important. Here's my scriptural backing. Proverbs 17 and verse 22 says, a joyful heart, church, a joyful heart is good medicine. A joyful heart is good medicine. But listen to what it says. But a broken spirit dries up the bones. Church, can I say something to you this morning? And you may be here in this room, you may not be. I may be referring to somebody totally different in some other church in some other county. I don't know and you don't know. But I'm going to say this. I see a lot of bones about today that evidently are pretty dried up. Amen? Amen. Pretty dried up. I want us to think about this morning. Many Christians don't take the time to laugh. They don't take the time to find joy. Their lives are dreary and their lives are drab. One of the things that Pastor Jeff Broadwell, he said, stuck with me continually, is that there was enough of fuddy-duds in the world, he didn't have to be one too. Amen?
That's right.
And I believe that with all of my heart. Had somebody tell me at the ball game the other night, because I've got a friend who goes with me to the ball games, and you know Emily cheers, and they get there, and cheering's a pretty hard thing to do. You know that. It may look complicated, but I discovered something the other night, and this thought hit me. I said, cheering is like preaching. And here's what I mean by that. Everybody's looking at you, and nobody's making any expressions. They don't know whether they're into it, or if they're just thinking, would you shut up and get out of here? You don't know. Well, this friend of mine, when they start cheering and trying to get the crowd involved, guess what we'll do? They get that, you say go, or we say go, you say fight. Well, we holler. They say go, we say fight! And everybody in the bleachers will either look at us, or they'll laugh at us, and then they'll start with it. And I had somebody tell me, you know, it's rare that we've ever seen a pastor who would do such things as that. And I started thinking, I said, well, there's something wrong. And they said, no. You've got personality. They said that's a good thing. Because it's okay to have fun. Church, can I tell you something this morning? It's okay to have fun. It's okay to live life in a proper manner, having good, clean fun. God doesn't want you walking around all the time looking like this. God wants to see you smile. Because you got a lot to be happy for. Amen?
Amen.
If you've accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, and today's the day He calls you home, you've got a lot to be thankful for. We've got to take time to laugh. And let me add something to that. Not only do we need to take time to laugh, we need to take the time to learn to laugh at ourselves. What do I mean by that? Everybody laughs at me all the time. And I just laugh along with them. You know why I can laugh with them? Because I don't take myself too seriously. And I think sometimes we get to a point in life where we can take ourselves a little too seriously. And that is never good. We can't walk through life with that mindset, with that demeanor. We've got to learn to enjoy others. We've got to get to a point where we rejoice in the Lord. Stop thinking it's all about you and it's all about me, because it's not. At the end of the day, we don't matter. God is who matters. So stop, please, today. And that's just a free nugget of wisdom for you this morning. Stop taking yourselves so seriously. I want to give you this last point for this morning, and then we'll prepare to close out. And I pray these are of some benefit to you as we speak practically this morning. But the final thing is that we've got to take the time to lift others up. And I had to fit that one we've got to take the time to lift others up. In Mark chapter 9, verse 27, a portion of that says, "But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up." And what took place in that story is Jesus had healed a demon-possessed little boy. And when Jesus had begun that process, that demon screeched and caused that little boy to fall into a state of convulsions where he was jerking. And when that demon was expelled, Christ bent down and extended his hand, and he lifted that young boy up. How many of us this morning, church, have ever found ourselves not demon-possessed, but at a place where we were at our lowest point in life, and we needed somebody to extend that hand and lift us up? I want you to think about that this morning. Jesus forgave sin. Jesus gave sight to the blind. Jesus pulled the demons out of those who were possessed. Jesus healed the sick. Jesus raised the dead. He took the time to lift up those people that needed to be lifted up. And as children of God today, if we are truly living in this life that He has given us to live, we must be lifting people up.
Amen.
Can I be honest with you about something today? There are certain people who I just don't ask to do anything anymore. You know why that is? Because every time I ask them, do you know what they tell me? I don't have what? Or I'm too what? I just figure if I've asked them 4 or 5 times, and that's been their answer, why ask them 6 or 7? Because I will never be able to make anyone understand that if our life is too busy to serve the Lord, then our life is filled with too much junk.
Amen.
And see, that's the problem today with why we as Christians aren't lifting others up. We're not taking the time to truly live because our lives are too busy. There's too much crammed into that life. Personal pursuits, various other things. Jesus took time, church. Everybody repeat that after me this morning. Say, Jesus took time.
Jesus took time.
Say it one more time. Jesus took time.
Jesus took time.
And so must we.
And
One more time. Jesus took time.
Jesus took time.
And so must we.
And so must we.
Because that's what truly living is, church. Truly living is all of the things that we mentioned this morning. But truly living, and you just admitted it this morning at the beginning of the service, truly living is not just going to work every day. Truly living is not just going to a ball game every week. Truly living is not doing a laundry list of other things that we do day by day, week by week, and we will never find joy in the things of this world. How many of you are happy that tomorrow's Monday we got to get up and go to work? I saw a couple of hands raised. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. How many of you are happy to know that if today were your last day on this earth, and you're washed clean by the blood of Jesus Christ, that the next thing you see will be eternity with your Lord and Savior? Happy about that this morning? That's truly it. How many of you would be happy to know that someone else, some lost soul, just became able to make that same proclamation? Truly living is living a life that is pleasing to God and that is pointing others to Jesus Christ. And I want to say this to you this morning in closing. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you you're not serving. What I'm telling you is this. You know, I know what God would have me to do. That's not for anybody else to dictate, mandate, or to direct, but God. And when you feel God leading you down that path, take the first step, and He'll help you take the rest of it. Because serving God and living for God can be done in so many ways, but only then will we truly experience what it means to live life. Father, we come before you at this time, Lord, and we just thank you, God, that we have that opportunity to truly live. God, in a world of chaos and in a world of fear, Lord, in a world that is consumed by so many things, in a world where we are pulled in so many different directions, God, it's such a blessing to know that we can just leave all of those things behind us. God, that we can just say that they don't truly matter. And God, that we can truly begin to live for you. God, in the busyness of our schedules, there are things that we cannot eliminate. God, there are things that we are obligated to. But Lord, may we just take a look at those things which we are not obligated to. And God, if we can do them while truly living, so be it. But Lord, if they are keeping us from truly living, from truly experiencing joy and peace, Lord, may we let those things go today. And may we feel the release of that weight in our lives. Father, if there be someone here this morning that needs that extra nudge, that extra push, Lord, I pray that you would help them, that you would move them, that you would bless them as only you can. In Jesus' name we humbly ask this prayer. Amen. Are you ready?